backstage with Dr. Lawlis. He's chairman of our advisory board, and by the way, a double diplomate in psychology, and we've been working on this case really, gosh, I guess for a couple of weeks off and on now. You were in the room while I was talking with this young man, observing the interview. What'd you take away from that?
Well, when you ask him questions about to explain himself, I really believed him. I think that he gets out of control, has no clue of why, other than he just explodes.
Yeah. I think his mental processing is very unsophisticated at this point. I think he has not developed, I think he's intelligent, but I think his thought process is pretty impoverished at this point.
Well, he only answered you in terms of the first level. He couldn't explain himself. He didn't go into any kind of detail. So I agree with you. He's got a lot of limitations.
Yeah. You know, asking about the underwear, I think that was the one lie he told straight up. I think he's too embarrassed to talk about that.
I agree on that, yeah.
So I didn't press him on that. I don't think there's any. Yeah, obviously, it didn't walk in there.
Right.
But I don't think there's a point in embarrassing him about it.
Right, but he started picking at his clothes and started getting very agitated.
Yeah, he clearly was lying about that.
Right.
But again, that's not the time to press on that. We know the answers to that. So, okay. Up next, so what happens at this point? Will the violence end, or will this young man wind up in prison? I've talked to him. I've looked him in the eye. I'm going to tell his parents what I think is really going on with him. I'm going to tell them what I think needs to happen next.
Tomorrow.
Dad, whatever you have to tell me, I want to know if Brandon will ever be able to live a normal life where he doesn't have the anger issues.
Do what I ask you to do.
No! And he's not violent.
Stop banging on the table.
And I'm not scared of him.
Brandon, stop it!
I need to know if there is a chance of being able to help my son.
The question is, what's causing this? Is there any hope for him? Or is this just the future? Are they living their future at this point? I mean, that's pretty much where you guys are, right?
Yeah, yes.
Now, you watched me talk to him backstage. Very nice young man as he sits and talks to me. I think some of what he said to me was honest. I think some of it was a blatant lie. He clearly lied about the underwear. He became very agitated when I talked to him about that. He started all of this. And it, interestingly enough, was a very unsophisticated lie.
What do you mean by that?
Well, it wasn't a very believable lie. And you would expect someone of his intelligence and his age to tell a better story. Yeah. I mean, my friend put it there, somebody was over, I don't know, but he just said, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Clearly, he knows that we know that he put it there, right? I mean, how else did it get there? And he just disavowed any knowledge of it whatsoever. It's totally non-believable. That's what I mean about not sophisticated. Don't know. Got nothing to say. I didn't put it there. It's in his room, under his mattress, under his bed. He's been caught taking it before. He's apologized to you.
Yeah.
He's been caught wearing it. Why did I not press it? Because there's nothing to be gained by pressing it at this point. I know the truth. I just wanted to know what he would say. And he gave a very cognitively impoverished lie. And it was a very unsophisticated lie that you would expect to get from a 4 or 5 year old child that broke the lamp and had the lampshade over their arm.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I didn't do it.
What he does.
That's what he does.
But that's significant. I gave him some motivation to tell me something that he might want.
Yeah.
He didn't have anything to offer there, which tells me that he's not really thinking in a very introspective level at this point. So let's get to what I think is going on here. When we go through all of the medications that this young man has been on, I'm horrified.
So are we. Yeah.
He has been on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23 medications. Many of these work at cross purposes to others. Some of them agitate him. If some of these are stimulants to a brain that doesn't need stimulation.
Can that be fixed? I mean,
Yes. I'm going to tell you what I think's going on. I'm going to tell you what I think needs to happen. There are certain neurotherapies and things that can be done that can awaken parts of the brain and literally activate parts of the brain that are dormant or calm parts of the brain that are overactive. I'm going to tell you what I think's going on. I'm going to tell you what I think needs to happen here. Now, I have not done a diagnostic workup on this young man, so I'm going to tell you what I think. I think your son is autistic. Autism is a spectrum disorder, and if this is not properly diagnosed, then it cannot be properly treated. And if it isn't properly diagnosed, then it can be mistreated. And if it is mistreated, it's like turning down that road. You go in the wrong direction and you do things that actually can make the circumstance worse, while you're not doing things that can make the circumstance better. Now, there are things going on with him at a neurological level that, in examining the records, have never been evaluated. Now, I want to introduce Dr. Frank Lawlis. He is the head of our advisory board. He is here today. He is the author of Retraining the Brain, and he is a clinical director of the P&P Center in Dallas, Texas. Now, the P&P Center is what I believe to be the leading diagnostic and treatment center in the United States today. Dr. Lawlis, let's talk about this a little bit. I've said that I believe that we're dealing with a spectrum disorder here of autism. What do you think's going on here?
Oh, well, I absolutely agree. And a lot of that data comes from some of the evaluations that were done before. But what is really missing is a really brain map to tell what's going on in the brain. Mm-hmm. The area in the back of his brain, which is basically processing, is at a very low level. So he can't take 2 or 3 step instructions. He gets very frustrated with very simple directions.
So something that you might say to him, I want you to get up and go clean your room and take a shower and then come back and we're going to have dinner. You might get a rage reaction from him or a frustration reaction for him. And if you have not evolved past a very young age, that frustration response is tantrum. It is tantrum-like. And then once you begin to develop that behavior, you default to it time and time and time again. So you can have a pattern of behavior that becomes deeply entrenched with so many triggers that it becomes a ready behavior that is triggered over and over and over again.
Can he learn to?
Well, yes, you can develop. You can. There are tools that, frankly, were not available even a few years ago. There are things, certainly biofeedback therapy, which has been around a long time, but there are certain neurotherapies and things that can be done that can awaken parts of the brain and literally activate parts of the brain that are dormant or calm parts of the brain that are overactive. And these are non-invasive procedures that can be utilized on an ongoing basis that the patient can experience as levels of mastery that can give them better controls. And am I describing this correctly?
You are. And what is the biggest obstacle for these kids is emotional management. They just don't have any options. They don't have any choices but to explode.
All right, we've got to take a break. Y'all soak this in. Think about what your questions are. We'll take a break, then we'll come back and talk about this a little bit more. One last thing I have to say to Phyllis and Barry before we leave today when we come back. Well, during the break, I continued to have a conversation with these parents, and it is hard to hear some of the things that we were talking about. I know, because, Barry, we were talking about, what happens if he doesn't respond, and the answers aren't good. What I know is this: if something doesn't turn dramatically in the near term to release this rage valve, he is more than you can handle at home. You are in an immediate danger. He could hurt seriously or kill one or both of you, and you're in over your head in that regard. So we are offering to send you guys to the PNP Center.
Thank you.
And Dr. Lawlis, you will be the 15th place they have been. No pressure. This will be the 15th place that they have been. Does this sound like a plan to you?
Yes,
Yes,
thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. And a special thanks to Dr. Frank Lawlis, the head of our advisory board. He is author of Retraining the Brain, and you guys can learn a lot from what's in here about what will be going on with him. And I recommend this to anyone that is struggling with stress and anxiety, because it is a tough time in our society right now. For more information on today's show, please go to drphil.com. Thanks so much for being here.